Hey everybody, this is little sister Chris and your grief therapist, and I am here with I'm gonna call him a co-griever and a co-sibling, y'all. And this guest, listen, we go back just a little bit of time. And not only do we go back, but it's pivotal that he is here because this is history right here in Nashville, Tennessee, and I would say just Middle Tennessee, period. This is history right here. This is the very first time that I've had someone who is a part of somewhere where I used to work. Yeah. So I used to work with the Metro Nashville Police Department here and worked there for a while as a civilian mental health therapist and case manager. But I worked more on the youth victim side. In domestic violence, I started out in that area, again, as a civilian, because most of the time people are telling me, sometimes they think that I was an officer and they'll call me the police, and I was not. I keep telling people I am not an officer. I'm not law enforcement. I was a civilian, but it doesn't matter. People still see you as working for the police, so you are the police. But however, I do have somebody who is actually the police. So I have the chaplain here, the chaplain of all chaps, pull over and pray. And he pulled over and prayed today for us in this podcast earlier because he said he was a little nervous. And I was thinking, why are you so nervous? Because, he's been through so much. He had told me he has gone through 43 years of law enforcement, y'all. And he's nervous about a little podcast. So make it make sense. You don't have to be nervous whatsoever. So I'm glad that he is here and that he'll be sharing with us here on the podcast, not only personally, but professionally, because he has many hats, many perspectives. I have a perspective of both being a grief therapist here, and I also have a perspective of being little sister too. So he's got even more hats on in perspective. So I'm so curious about how he's going to tell us the stories about being a chaplain for Metro, for the police department, because that's something that we don't want to see him coming. If you are a part of Nashville or Davidson County, we didn't want to see the chaplain coming because that's bad news. So, chaplain, you all right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I know you over there done prayed about your nerves, and he talking about he needs some nerve pills. No, he does not need it. So we're all good. So talk to me. Tell me about who you are, chap.
All right, James Duke. I'm, like you already said, I've had 43 years in law enforcement, 33 plus years with the Metro Police Department as a police officer. Before I retired as an officer, then I came back part-time, still doing chaplaincy.
So with the Metro Police Department, but a total of 43 years, and then retired from Metro.
Right.
However, what happened?
It was time to go.
To
give up the badge.
Yeah. What year did you give up the badge?
In March of 2021.
2020. Oh, okay. So I left in 2022. So it was a year before I left.
That's correct.
Okay. So, but I heard you went back though.
I went back part-time. Doing only chaplaincy work.
Only chaplain work, no police work whatsoever.
Police work.
So you don't have to have a badge when you go back and retire.
No.
Okay. So he's semi-retired. And what's the other hats that you wear?
Well, I'm a pastor of the St. Paul Primitive Baptist Church, and I've been there 27 years. This year will be 28 years in November this year, 28 years of pastoring that congregation.
Wow. So you know a thing or two or three about people.
Yes.
And seeing things
That's right.
that other people don't and have never in their wildest dreams seen.
Sometimes see things in a day that some people will never see in a lifetime.
Yeah. As chaplain for the Metro Nashville Police Department and being pastor too.
That's correct.
Okay. And then you have your personal life.
That's correct.
You have your personal. I have had personal losses as well.
That's right.
Okay, so personally, how many people have you grieved or are grieving?
As far as personally, the most recent was my baby brother.
Okay.
He passed away probably about 2 years ago.
Okay, so he is a co-griever and a co-sibling you all, because my podcast name has changed, and it changed from Surviving Sibling Loss, the Forgotten Mourners podcast, to the Grip Spot. Okay. So I can encompass a lot of other losses, not just sibling loss, although that's where my heart is in siblings.
Yes.
So just recently lost your brother, baby brother. And how many total siblings did you have?
4. 3 brothers and 1 sister.
Okay. And then from after that, how many siblings do you have left?
Just two older brothers and my sister.
So you've had multiple loss.
Yes.
Okay. And
no, I just lost one
just
sibling.
One. Okay, got it.
But I still have surviving 2 older brothers and my sister.
Gotcha. I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you for that clarification. Thank you. So you lost one but you have multiple siblings left over. And other losses that you've had, who were those?
Oh, well, my mother, which that's been over 30 years now, but that's something I still never have gotten over yet, but I just learned to move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I consider losses as a pastor when I lose church members. It's almost like family. You have to funeralize and deal with, loss, within the church family.
Right. Mm-hmm. So you funeralized many people that you knew and loved.
Many people that I knew and loved, and as a chaplain, many people that I really didn't know, but I got to know after meeting with families and having to have funeral services and, as a chaplain where there was a need for a minister.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about this time as a chaplain, because you spent since 1998 as a chaplain, and you've seen the world change. Yes. You've seen so many different things. And talk to me about your first day on the job as a chaplain.
I remember the first time that I went out with another chaplain, just shadowing him to see what it was like. It was something that I never expected. It's almost like it's just different. I just give an example. There's been officers that would tell me that they would rather be in a shootout than to do death notifications and do what chaplains do.
Wow.
And, of course, it is by me being a pastor and minister, it was like ministry on the job. And I remember that first outing going to Jolton, Tennessee, to make that death notification, where we had to go tell a mother that her son had been killed from an automobile accident. And so I won't forget that very first one.
Yeah. That very first one in 1998.
98, yes.
26 years ago.
Yes.
And you've done multiples, thousands of those death notifications.
Yes.
Wow. How?
That question is asked all the time, but only thing I can say is the grace of God that sustains me and keep me. And I look at it as ministry on the job, because sometimes, even now, part-time, I have did as many as 5 in one day on one shift. It's like from boom, 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 one after the other. So you just have to be ready for the next one. And just wait and breathe when you get home.
Yeah, wait and breathe when you get home.
Yes.
How do you process all of that when you do get home?
Well, again, find something else to do, even if it's just TV, going back, looking at my favorite Gunsmoke or something like that.
Gunsmoke? I like it. Yeah. And I watch you on Facebook. You've been going here, there, and everywhere. I've been watching you go. I'm like, where is he at now? You in a whole different city or town or state, traveling a lot. And I'm saying, okay, that's what it's like being retired. I've been watching. I might not say nothing, but I've been watching. So traveling has been good for you.
Traveling. I got a cruise coming up in the end of October where I'm going to first fly over to Spain, then take a cruise into Italy. Rome, there's places there just to get away.
Yeah, just to get away. Self-care there. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sounds really good. So knowing that you have gone through and have been that person for so many people, what is a theme that you can think of in all of this? Is there a theme?
I don't know if it's really a theme, but it's just, first of all, that when I go into it, I realize I can't be all things to all people, but I try to be the best me that I can be as far as ministering, knowing, especially if I'm getting ready to make that death notification,
Yeah.
knowing that you finna change somebody's life forever when you tell them that bad news. And so you have to be ready for whatever to come, and people react very differently when it comes to a loss of after you done told them a loved one has died, and so you don't know what to expect. And sometimes, even as a pastor or minister, sometimes you just can't go quoting scriptures because sometimes they don't want to hear that. You know, because they so distraught, are in shock.
Yeah.
And that don't help. So all you can do is just be that ministry of present.
Okay.
In those moments.
Okay. Being present.
Present, the ministry of presence.
Have you ever gotten a family or a person that is not Christian or is not spiritually based?
Many times I've encountered that, but again, with the spirit that the Lord has put within me, many times that seemed not to be a problem because people respect. Again, that presence of what chaplaincy represents.
Okay.
And so they respect that in most cases.
Okay.
And then there are times that we've asked about where's my church or whatever, and I've had some even come to attend that was not into the church at the time.
Interesting. So I'm going to make a side note because I heard a lawnmower. And my brother, that's one of our first jobs was mowing grass. Okay. So I don't know if anybody heard that in the mics or whatever. They have noise cancellation or whatever, but I just feel like my brother just showed up in the lawnmower because it just feels like it's right there. My brother loved doing yards. And so he just really just showed up in somebody's yard, lawn work. So, yeah. So, okay, going back to, and thanks for that little break there, GP. That was my brother's name. But going back to that, have you had people remember you?
Yes, and sometimes that has been good, sometimes not so good. I remember one time meeting a person at a market. They bumped into me and they just started crying.
Yeah.
Because seeing me reminded them of the day I made the death notification. And so, and that has happened on other occasions as well. And then there was an occasion where one lady was so upset with me for giving her that bad news. She didn't want to hear it, wasn't ready to hear it. But then I ran into her again, and she apologized to me for her actions. But again, we know that's part of, anger is part of the stage of grief. So, so you can't take those things personal.
Okay, not taking it personal. Right. Has anybody tried to box you?
Well, I've been grabbed a few times.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why most of the time when we make death notifications, we try to keep ourselves at somewhat of a distance. But sometimes I have been charged that, and one lady looked at me. She said, "I could just smack you."
Yeah.
And I said, "Ma'am, I'm sure you can," but I kept my distance.
Man, it takes a certain personality.
It really do.
To be able to handle people's emotions like that. That's because that's raw emotion. It's not filtered whatsoever. By the time they get to me as a grief therapist, it has been filtered. They have thought about it. They've gone through the burial part for the most part. And it, the shock of it all may be there, but it's different. It's not the initial.
That's right.
For you, it's initial, right in the moment.
Right there. Right in your face.
So you make the death notification. How long are you present while you're making that notification?
Normally, it depends on how soon we can get a neighbor or other family members to come. But normally, I stay, especially if it's at a residence where a person has died in the home. I normally stay until that a person, loved one, has been removed from the home. Because sometimes that's when it really hits when they go to removing that loved one.
Yeah. So you were here. You're on staff as a chaplain. Have been on staff for many years, And I know at points where you were really by yourself. Were there times you were by yourself?
At one point, it was me as the only a sworn chaplain, and the rest that I had was volunteer chaplains that assisted.
Assisted, and then sometimes went ghost.
And sometimes with ghosts.
Yeah,
Yes, especially
yeah.
in the middle of the night, if they didn't answer the pager or something, it would fall on me.
So if somebody paged you, it's 2:00 in the morning, they paged you. How long do you have to go out?
Normally, you have to start getting ready immediately. I mean, and trying to wake up, and then it is sometimes depends on the season, whether it's summertime or wintertime. You got to put more layers on.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
wintertime,
Yeah.
to be prepared to go. But I try to go as soon as possible when they call.
Yeah.
And everything.
And that means like full uniform.
Yes.
This ain't just your street clothes, y'all. This is full uniform that got to be in order.
Right, that's right. Right.
The badge too before you let it go.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, before you let it go.
That's
Yes,
right.
yes.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So
But
very
now that I'm
unique.
part-time, I don't have those late night calls. I just work my regular shift during the day on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Okay, good. So somebody else
Somebody
can do
else
the
can.
late night.
Right,
Okay, so they do have
They
another
still have- right.
who's full time
That's
and
right.
some volunteers.
That's right.
Okay, got it. How, knowing that you have a high stress job, because I cannot, police work, period,
Right.
is a high stress
That's
job.
correct.
And I know I wasn't never on scene for the most part as a therapist working for the police. It was a high stress job. You read things, you know things that the general population does not know, and they may never know.
right.
Never know. And you're holder of a lot of secrets.
Right.
Not only as a therapist, but you
That's
all
right.
as
That's
police
right.
officers and
That's right.
chaplains, you're
That's right.
holders of a lot of secrets.
A lot of things to go to the grave with us.
Right. Some things you see and don't want to see,
That's
or, all of that.
That's right.
So how in this high stress environment, how did that relate over into your own personal life when you lost other people in your life? How did you juggle work in that?
Well, to be honest with you, the day that my baby brother was transitioning, I was at his residence with his wife and children, and I received a death call while I was there with my own family. And I left to go take care of that death call. And so while I was gone, my brother did transition, then I went back. But I've had to put my personal loss of problems aside to go work with someone else and then go back to my own.
Yeah.
So it's not easy, but
Yeah.
Again, with the help of God, I pulled through it.
Yeah. So it sounds like having to make those decisions time after time after time.
Yes.
Some difficulty.
Difficult.
Especially, I'm pretty sure with other family members,
That's
like, oh my gosh, you can't just
That's right.
tell them to go somewhere,
Right.
let somebody else handle it.
And even going, I had to put my emotions aside to be able to be there for that family that I went to see.
Man, oh man.
Yeah.
Again, this takes more than it's more than I can do.
Right.
It really, because I've been in situations where I had to keep it together and not think about what I'm going through.
That's right.
But that's definitely hard on the body. It's hard.
It really is. And I do remember when I had to funeralize my brother. It's when I was up. It's almost like I thought I was having a heart attack at one point.
Yeah.
But it was anxieties. Something just started coming so bad. But I managed to get through it. But it was tough.
Yeah.
Some people didn't recognize it. Some did. But I recognized because I was feeling it.
Yeah. Having those panic attacks.
That's what it was like. A
Yeah.
severe panic attack.
Oof. Had you ever had one of those before?
It's been a while. It had been a while, but I knew what it was when it was happening, but I'm up speaking before the people, and I had to keep it going.
Yeah. You in go mode.
There you go.
Okay. You having to funeralize your brother, and so many different other people.
Yes.
Now that lets me goes into the church family here, the saints.
Yes,
the
the
saints. So I grew up in a church family, and still attend church and spiritually connected. I had so many different people from the church that I grew up in that were supportive of my family when my brother died.
Right.
And he died early. He died at 18 years old. Okay. And at that point, I don't know, because I was so young. I was 14. Right. I don't know if other people had gone through the same type losses. I had no clue. That's my first point of reference right there was my brother. Right. But I do know that at times it felt like in the spiritual community that after a while we don't talk about it anymore. Right. We don't really address it as a church family, maybe individually, maybe. But after the funeral is over, after the repast is over, and maybe like after a couple of months or so, then it kind of just gets back into, okay, we're back into our regular schedule.
That's right. That's what you're saying is valid, because for me, knowing what I know, and as a pastor, even right now at my church where I pastor, there's been a lot of losses of death, people losing siblings or sons and things of that nature. And every Sunday when I get up, those persons are in the congregation, and I know they're still hurting. I know they're still carrying the grief, because really, and I share with them, you'll never get over it,
right?
But you'll learn to move on, with your life. But again, me knowing that they still carrying that, even for me, sometimes I have triggers of some of my own losses that I've had or experienced, and so I try to, minister in that sense. I make phone calls, just doing checkups and things of that nature.
Yeah,
because I know it's tough.
Right.
It's not easy.
So they have the benefit of you checking in.
Right.
Which a lot of pastors and ministers and things like that are not as well versed in that life. But because you work for the chaplain for the police department.
Right. And also I realized that even as a pastor, even with the years that I've pastored, there's some things when it comes to grief, when sometimes people grieve real hard a long period of time. Yeah. Sometimes there's things beyond my expertise that I can handle that I have to refer out, to real grief counselors. So you have to know when to, refer out.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Because people who are pastors or someone in the church who is taking on the grief counseling hat without being trained.
That's right.
There's people out there who fear even doing so, and people who don't want to go because of a fear of not finding someone who's spiritually based, or the fear of even having a communication with or talking about grief and the loss and all of that. So you have seen that.
That's right. Yeah, because you got to go deeper than bless your heart, God will bless you, God will make a way. It's sometimes when people are deep grieving, they're not even hearing that.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you recognize that for your parishioners and the people that you contact around you. Do other parishioners and other pastors contact you to figure out what to do with someone who's in deep grief?
I have had some calls at times from a few pastors within our association, and I've sent out pamphlets, things on grief and loss, to try to, even for them themselves, how to have self-care when they're dealing with things themselves. And so I do get some calls at times.
Okay. Pastors and self-care, y'all. Does it exist?
Yeah, it exists if it's utilized. But
it's utilized.
A lot of times it's not utilized because it's sort of like policing. As a police officer, you're there to help, to guide, to protect. You don't need help, you help others. Sort of the same thing on the pastor side. You're there to help, to assist. You don't need help, but we're not Superman.
Right.
We do need help.
Right. And I know you carry a lot of secrets. I know you do, with other pastors and what they're wrestling with. And as a whole, because I think you know where I'm kind of going for it with this, because when I left when I left working for people and started my own business back, it's almost be a year in September next month. When I left, my first mode was to be able to contact churches, right?
Right.
To be able to provide mental health trainings and things like that with their parishioners and even with pastors.
Right.
I've had a few of pastors who contact me and then follow through, which I definitely appreciate. They saw a need and they got it done.
Right.
They got it done. But it's been very difficult. It's been very difficult as far as trying to procure services.
Right.
Like they want it and then you don't hear from them anymore. I mean, and it's pretty typical with individuals. But for churches, it's been somewhat difficult to be able to go in and procure the services and provide a quality of service and be paid for it too.
Right.
So talk to me about what is the hesitation? Do you know what the hesitation is?
It's not. I don't know. I don't.
Okay.
I know it is there.
Yeah.
And it is hesitation, but at the same time, I think it's the maybe of being educated from the leadership standpoint of what's really needed or what's out there or resources that out there that they could, rely upon. Because sometimes in our churches we have suicides that sometimes occur in some of our churches, and sometimes pastors are overwhelmed and not really knowing how to handle assist in those kind of situations. Or even sometimes the question would come to a pastor, well, I've been always taught that if a person commits suicide, they're going straight to
to HE hockey sticks. Yeah.
Yes, and then so I have to be ready, even when as a chaplain, when those kind of questions come, to be ready to kind of answer those questions.
To answer the
Even though we don't have a heaven or a to put somebody in, but yet at the same time, I just have to share. Anybody that would do something like that will have to have somewhat been out of their right mind to do that. And I don't believe God will hold them responsible for being out of their right mind for that happen. Because I even experienced that with my own father, witnessing him commit suicide. And he was a minister himself. And I was young at that time, but I witnessed it happen.
Yeah.
So.
That's a story I did not know.
Yes.
That's a story I did not know. How old were you?
I was 2 years old. It happened December of 1959. I would have been 3 that March, so I was almost 3 years old. But
Okay.
I could remember it now as if it was just today happening or yesterday happening.
Wow. As a young memory.
Right.
And that lets me, were you destined to go into this field after that?
That's when I look back at a lot of the things that I've encountered, have witnessed, I feel that was part of preparation to do what I do. Because I've had people that say, you were destined for this because of all the deaths that you have been around.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So that as a young person, having to witness this and remembering it, and him also being a minister.
Right.
Nothing has changed since 59.
Right.
There's nothing that has changed.
Right.
There's more information, of course.
That's true.
And more resources. But pastors are still having mental health issues and challenges. And like my minister would say when I was growing up, the vicissitudes of life, the life transitions, all of that on top of trying to carry other people. Therapists are covering other people.
That's right. Yeah. And even then I didn't understand trauma during that period because I was so young. But as far as the loss and the grief, it did not hit me from that incident until I was in school. And when my friends would say, me and my daddy going hunting, me and my daddy going fishing, and I couldn't say that, that's when I started experiencing, really the loss and grief within that.
Yeah.
From that loss.
From that loss. Mm-hmm. So we can't say, and I know in my therapy world, I know memories and young people do exist.
Yes.
But there's people who believe that a child is too young, they're not going to remember. Or because they're acting a certain way, they're not talking about it right now, that they're not remembering. And that is not true.
That's not true.
It's not true.
That is not true, because from every incident that I can remember of my father is the fact that it was every incident I was crying because it was something that had me fearful, and I was crying. So it's those episodes that make me remember him.
Yeah.
Once just an example, we got some chickens from my grandfather, and they put them in the trunk of the car, and I was sitting on the back seat and hearing the chickens flop around on the back seat. I thought they would come, and that was an incident where I was fearful.
Yeah.
And then one time he took me on this job where he worked with a feed company where they grind a corn to make it turn it into feed. And with that noise from the machine, I was crying. So
Yeah.
in another episode, he made a wagon, pulling me and my brothers across a bridge. It was high. I was afraid. So it's those incidents that I could really remember of him. And a few of him preaching, grabbing his leg while he's preaching.
Yeah, that was his thing. Okay. And then you became a minister too.
Yes.
Yeah. Family. So knowing and having that as a history and the foundation to know, to be able to take care of you in this journey, because being a pastor and then being a chaplain and then being an officer and then, in personal life things too, it's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, be pulled. And not only a lot of times being pulled from people, not necessarily from my congregation, but just
because they know you.
Just because they know me.
Yeah, they know you.
Yeah. But you got to know how to set boundaries to make it.
How long did it take you to set boundaries?
It took me a long time.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to learn to set boundaries. And that's why I started, when I first said earlier, I realized I can't be all things to all people. So you have to learn to set some boundaries.
Man. I can't, because I'm still learning the boundaries. I'm older than what I look, but I'm still learning what it means to, because as a therapist with a therapy brain, that does not very much translate to my personal life. In that you can't therapize everybody. They don't deserve that part of you. All of that in relationships, friendships, whatever relationship, even in business, I have learned that you can't be therapist and the CEO at the same time.
That's right.
Now, this is a learning curve for me.
Sometimes you have to be off the record.
Yes.
Per se.
Yes. And collecting money and as a therapist and collecting money as a business person are two totally different things.
That's correct.
A therapist is like, I see that we're in a situation. I could discount, and then the business part of me is like, discount. This work wasn't discounted.
Right.
This work wasn't free. So two different battles I have to go through. So I can only imagine the battles that you in your different roles have to go through, not only personally, professionally, with the boundaries.
That's true.
Whew.
That's true.
I listen, y'all. I am talking to somebody who is blowing me back right now. just in my mind, I'm going back to what 40 plus years would look like in somebody's life dealing with law enforcement, the changes in law enforcement over the years, being located where we're located in the South, and political and all of those different things that's happening over the years. Okay. So I am going to ask, because this is something that I started asking my clients this year, really, about COVID and how they bounced back? Have they recovered from COVID?
You mean
during the time when we first started? Because we were working with the police department. Yes. I was too.
Right.
And that was a weird set of circumstances because we still had to go to work.
Well, I do remember my I did contract COVID, and I believe that I received it on a death call, making a death notification, because I went to this residence and was notifying this mother that her son had died. And while there, just in talking to her, then she just mentioned about her having had COVID.
Yeah.
And I believe that's where I got it the first time I had gotten that. Yeah.
The first time.
First time.
Yeah. I have a theory that maybe I got it at work too. The first time. 2021 is when I got it.
The one that really took me out.
Oh, man. So it was bad.
It was bad. Yet I started, doing church on conference line.
Yeah.
And there was one incident I never will forget. I couldn't hardly breathe to talk, to teach the lesson.
Yeah.
And it seemed like nobody would understand. I'm about to die right here. Somebody help me.
Man.
But I had to pull through it because nobody stepped up.
Oh, there we go. See, that's what I'm talking about right there.
Yeah.
Just doing, because, when you with the church.
Yeah, you got even though it was kind of one of the things, I'm closing now. Got to bring it in.
Closing early today. Bringing it home.
Bring it in.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
My goodness. So COVID happened. Almost took you up out of here, so you had to take care of you.
Right.
How long did it take you to recover?
On that one, I must say it was about 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
And then there was still constant, shortness of breath.
Yeah.
Even following that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it took a little while. Took
Were
about
you nervous?
4 months. I was somewhat nervous, yes, and everything, because, during that period, a lot of people were dying and different things of that nature. And I don't think at that time I was ready to go.
Yeah, right.
Ready spiritually, but I wasn't ready to
physically gone out of here. Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
So, and then being that you got it, you were at work and had it, were you fearful moving forward going to work?
Well, I was somewhat fearful, but they did change some policies for us to where if we could work it, doing death notification by telephone versus going out. So we did do a lot of that.
Good.
Even though we know the best practice is in person, but because of the circumstances, we had no choice.
Yeah.
But then again, you had to know how to do it, even if you did it over the phone. You
Definitely
don't
different.
Want to call nobody and they by themselves, because you never know what will happen on the other end of the phone. So you had to make sure somebody else was there with them before you
Okay, before you give them that news.
That's right.
Okay, all right. So I know both police department and being in the church, 2020 was just really shook some stuff up for a lot of people, and definitely on both of those realms.
Right. That's right.
Have you recovered from all of these events?
I would have to say yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have. Thanks God.
Yes. Because we were going through a lot in 2020 working.
That's right.
We had political unrest at the same time.
That's
if you had a uniform on, you was a target too. It didn't matter what you looked like.
That's right. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
It did not matter what you looked like. Even if I, as myself as a civilian, it didn't matter.
Yeah, I went through that. I remember vividly being at a Shell station. A person walked up to me, "Well, you gonna kill somebody today?" You get all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I did witness that and experience that.
Yeah. For a long time, I didn't really share that I work for the police department, because it just didn't hit everybody the same.
That's true.
Yeah. Even though I really loved the job. Yeah. I just had to get paid more after I got licensed.
Right.
That's why I left. But I really enjoyed my job.
Right.
I did. And it sounded like you do and did too. Because you always had the smile on your face whenever I saw you over at the unit, the behavior wellness unit. Always had jokes and laughing and stuff like that. I was like, this man, he sure got a lot of jokes. He's, real good people.
Well, to be honest with you, that's me. However, it's also a coping mechanism.
See, okay, come on out with it. It's a coping mechanism for what?
For just because sometimes when you come over for meetings, I might have just come off some death calls and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's my way of trying to bring some normalcy back for me.
I can see that now. Looking back on it, I can see that because you had the jokes, and then you'd be like, "You gonna sing? You just look like you can sing." And I was like, "How he know I can sing? This is my first time meeting you." You had all the jokes. I was like, I could carry it too. And then next time I saw you, like, "You gonna sing?" I was like, me.
Are you gonna fix my plate? I got arthritis.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, so you had a lot of jokes, and I did not even think about it being a coping mechanism at that time. I was like, oh, he really loves his job. I mean, not that you didn't, but, I didn't think about your role at the point when I would see you.
Right. Like some Sunday mornings may have had to make a death call before going to the pulpit.
Oh, wow.
You just have to know how to juggle.
Yeah.
Change hats and do what you got to do.
Yeah. When did you sleep?
On the job.
Because ain't no way.
Well, I was working sometimes around the clock. So.
Right. How in the world? When I tell you, okay, because the best thing about working for the city was a PTO. How much time were you able to take off, or did you take time off?
That was some of my dilemma because even my only getaway many times was when I was on vacation and left the city, where I could not actually go make the call.
Yeah.
However, there were times I did have to assist from being out of town because I didn't learn how to turn the phone off.
Turning the phone off. That on-call phone, turning it off.
That's right.
Oh, man.
Yep.
What a life.
Well, just this morning,
Yeah.
I had to notify two twin brothers about their father.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not on the clock because it's Friday.
Right.
But I took care of the situation.
This is your normal here. This is your normal, and not even on the clock saying you giving free work. Please clock that in.
Yeah, the day was free work. And again, a lot of times, like as far as vacation time, again, only if I was away.
Yeah.
You have comp time, but comp time didn't mean nothing to me because if I'm going to take a comp day with the comp time, then I get a call. I'm still working.
Yeah,
so
yeah. And I, with the people who work for the police department, this really is not unique to them.
Right.
From the chiefs to everybody that I've talked to, captains and things like that, it's almost like you got it, but how can you take it unless you just have to snatch it before you lose it?
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So your hair's not gray. It ain't fell out.
Shoe polish.
Oh.
No, I just.
It ain't fell out. You ain't, all of that. You still with us. Thank you, Father God. You're still with us with all of this stress on your chest. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So now that we are semi-retired and you went back, oh my gosh. How long were you gone? How long were you fully retired and not working?
From March to June of 2021.
Oh my gosh. What in the world? I would have ran off RUNNOFT, okay? But you went right back. They have hooks in you. Yeah. Okay. So you went back because they called you. They needed...
Well, they did, in a sense. They would like me to come back, and then I needed something to give me something to do other than just sit at home, too.
Okay.
And it's ministry. I'm looking at it from the standpoint of ministry.
Okay. Not that pastoring wasn't enough for you. But you want to go back and do it on your own terms, I guess. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sounds like somebody just really loves their job. So
ministry.
Working. And that's good.
Helping, reach out, helping people.
Because not everybody has that gift.
That's true.
Not everybody is gifted that to be able to handle so much all at one point on their body, their spirit, their mind, everything.
Right. And things you see if you go on some of them scenes and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's sort of hard too. Sometimes you go on a scene and you see a horrific scene, whether it's a car wreck, shooting, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you have to go back and talk to that family, but you can't echo to the family what you've seen and everything. But
Yeah.
you got that, but yet you're trying to console that family after making that notification.
Is there a script that you go by when you're talking to a family?
No real script, but other than like when you knock on the door, you want to try to go in and sit down with the family. They sit down, and you might start out, I have some disturbing news. First, I find out, do they know this person or how they related? And they might start off, well, I have some disturbing news to get them prepared to receive what's coming. And then you start, I'm so sorry to have to inform you there was a wreck or whatever the case may be. And you just have to break it out. You can't say passed away, gone.
Yeah.
You have to use the word
Died.
was dead, or was killed. You have to use those words.
Keep people from guessing.
That's right.
The absolutes.
That's right.
My hospital people too are the same way.
Yes.
To be able to make sure that people they didn't understand you.
That's true. That's right. That's true.
Okay, so with that, you've also had losses on the job too.
Yes.
How much of your role was involved in telling people on the job, or even sharing on the job, that you've lost a colleague?
That was another issue that was kind of strike against me, being a chaplain, is when there were losses of colleagues, losses on the job, police line of duty deaths. Who did I have to go to?
Yeah.
You see, people rely on the chaplain to do certain things, but who did the chaplain go to?
Who did you go to?
Well, thank God, sometimes I have my own pastor. That's why pastors need to have a pastor. So sometimes you can go to your own pastor and talk to them. And then other chaplains, like even some volunteer chaplains, sometimes they could understand, but then there was certain aspects they might not have understood because they weren't sworn officers.
That's a whole different life.
It's a whole different, yes.
It's a life, and it's a language.
There you go. That's right. So some areas that they would have
Understood. Yeah. I mean, in my short time, we lost a couple of people, whether sworn or civilian, losing people, and that was a bit difficult for a lot of people. And you could just feel in the hallways and precincts what it was like.
Yes.
Okay.
And then when you're dealing with, especially sworn, a lot of times sworn, even myself, don't like to show emotions. And then sometimes you can have some one-on-one and bring and give them the freedom to bring out the emotions.
Yeah.
Then that's very helpful.
Yeah. Okay. It's good to know. It's the only reason why I accept Cigna insurance. Because I know Metro accepts it. And just in case, they don't want to go to the behavioral health. I am actually located right down the street from the headquarters. So just in case, if somebody is looking from the police department and they want to get therapy, specifically grief and loss, I am located on 1305 Murfreesboro Pike.
And for you to say that's important, because it's not as bad as it was, but it used to be a big stigma about getting help or counseling.
Yeah.
But I encourage people that counseling is for the individuals. Don't worry about what people think, because I messed up that when I was almost killed in 1991 in the line of duty.
Now, wait a minute. We've been talking this whole time. And you ain't tell me that neither.
Yeah.
Okay. So run down. I'm going to look at my time here because we got, All right. So it's 2:39 at this point. So I got till 3. So I need you to go with me. Okay. I need to go with you in this 1991. Was almost killed on the line, in the line of duty.
Yes. And it was January the 23rd, 1991. I was attempting to apprehend a shoplifter that was sitting in her car that had taken some items from the Hills department store that was in Madison at the time, right on the corner of Oak Boulevard and Galton Road. And she gave it to a friend to go in to try to exchange the stolen items to get cash back. So they had apprehended her. Then when they called for the police, I arrived and went to the security offices was just going to issue a misdemeanor citation for shoplifting. And the security person told me there was another lady in the car that needed to come in as well. So when I went out to get her to bring her in, she refused to get out of the car, and she rolled the windows about halfway down but wouldn't get out of the car. And so I let my guards down because she was a female, and I knew not to do what I did, but I let my guards down by doing it anyway. So I reached in her car. I had her cut the ignition off and take the keys out, and I put my left arm over the steering column, and then I reached in with my right arm to open the door from the inside, but she managed to get the window rolled up tight on my car. And she drugged me about 2 miles down Oak Boulevard, and I'm hanging for my life. And so, yeah.
What?
And she tried to sideswipe several vehicles on the parking lot and a dump truck on Oak and constantly telling me she was going to kill me. Matter of fact, she was on the way to the interstate, was going to put me up against the concrete wall. But I did manage to free myself just before we got to the interstate.
Hold on. I'm going to push your mic up a little bit so I get all of that. So this lady was dragging you.
Yes, I'm hanging on the outside of a vehicle.
For 2 miles. Down a very busy.
Busy. 4-lane. a center turn lane.
And you managed to free yourself. How?
When she was going to run a red light to get to the interstate, I managed to turn the steering wheel and put her on a side street. And the car finally stopped for the first time. And I planted my feet on the ground, and she looked at me and said, "You better hang on, I'm going to kill you." And I just pulled back with my strength and broke the window. I fell back on the street. That's how I got free.
Where's this lady now? Do you know? Was she convicted?
She was. She plea bargained on a 20-year sentence, but of course she's out now.
Okay. I know that. So were you injured in the process?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. You got the war story here and the war wounds.
Severed artery and severe nerve damage. So I was bleeding internally, and they had to do emergency surgery. I would have, died from loss of blood internally.
And that's from the glass, right?
No, that was just from the severed artery.
Okay.
The glass did not cut me.
Okay.
Just nerve damage from me working that steering wheel that caused the nerve damage, and it severed that artery.
Lord, thank you for him sitting here over some shoplifting stuff.
Yeah.
Like, how crazy is that over merchandise?
Yeah. $14 worth of that.
$14 worth.
Yeah.
In 1991.
1991.
Okay.
January 23rd. About 4:15 in the evening.
Yo, you listen. So it was getting dark if it's not already dark.
It was getting dark.
Oh my gosh. So you remember that so vividly, and it's one of those things that you will never forget because you were fighting for your life and trying to figure out how to get yourself free from this lady in this situation.
Even lying to her. I said, ma'am, if you just let me go, I'll forget I even saw you. I said, I got a wife and 3 little children at home. I want to go home to them. Yeah. I wasn't married, didn't have no children.
Hey, tell her anything.
Anything.
Let me go.
Let me go.
Look, I'm pregnant. Let me go. Yeah, she did not care at all. No. So you were off of work for a while I
was on light duty from that January to about that November of that year. So I was on light duty. Yes.
That's pretty huge for your career.
Right.
I mean, you've been through so much in your career before, and personally as well.
Yeah, and
But
then
that's
with
huge.
doctors saying that I probably never go back to work. I, but grace of God.
Yeah, went right on back.
But
Did you go back to patrol or?
when I first went back, I went back to patrol for just a little while because, again, with the severity of the injury, it was still causing some handicaps for me. So then I went from there to the inside, went in background and recruitment for a
Okay.
while.
Okay. All right. All right. And then from there, you moved on through and then became chaplain.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And from 91 to 98, that's when I was suffering so much because of listening to the stigma about going getting counseling. I did not go for debriefing. I did not go for counseling. So I carried a whole lot of that PTSD,
Yeah.
not knowing where it was coming from
Yeah.
until I did go to the chaplain section and was also serving as a peer supporter in a debriefing and getting to understand what it was all about. Then I talked to a counselor after that debriefing, how I was feeling during that debriefing.
Yeah.
And so, because again, the stigma, if you can't do this job, go sell light bread. I listened to some of the older.
The old heads. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was the worst thing I could have done.
Yes.
So that's why now I would tell people it's for you, don't worry about what people think.
So you're a good advocate for
Yes,
peer support
because of that, yes.
and debriefings
Yes,
and things
yes,
of that
yes,
nature. So you
yes,
can get the
yes,
help.
Yes.
It wasn't until you tried to help other people
Right.
until you understood that
Yes,
peer support
that's
works.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate of it now.
Yeah, because I know there's a trust factor in
That's
there
right,
when
that's
when you're
right.
talking about the police
That's
and
true,
getting
that's
that support from on staff.
That's true.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. So I'm glad that you finally, after 7 years of going through that, and then finally getting into the chaplain
That's right.
division, got the
That's right.
help that
Yep.
you and
That's
support
right.
that you needed.
That's right.
Okay. All right. And then everybody out there, you are in law enforcement or anything of that nature, just breaking the stigma. If you're a seasoned saint, even if you're younger and you feel like I don't need nobody to tell me nothing. I know how to do this. I got spiritual. I'm this, I'm that.
Yeah. Get help. Seek help.
Seek help. And seek help. Again, I am located on 1305 Murfreesboro Pike, Nashville, Tennessee, 37217. My office is there. If you are a police, I'm sharing this with everybody, but if you are in law enforcement in Nashville, Tennessee, or even if you are not in Nashville, Tennessee, you are in Tennessee, I can still see you. And I am versed in law enforcement language in the field of law enforcement. So if you feel like you cannot talk to anybody else inside the police department, I am available for you. Even if you work for the fire department, wink, wink, too. I'm available for you in all of that. So I'm glad that you are able to share this story with me. I appreciate you for sharing your stories. There's so many more stories inside of you.
So many.
There's so many. I could probably talk to you half a day.
So many.
Yes, so many.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your chaplain experience and personally sharing your experience, knowing that you have lost a baby brother.
Yes.
What was your baby brother's name?
Roland.
Roland. Okay. Roland being available here. Hi, Roland.
Well, that's how some people pronounce, but we call him Roland.
Roland. Because you're country, right? Roland. Okay, Roland. Yeah. Did he say his name Roland, or did he say?
He went by Roland too.
Oh, okay.
He answered to Roland. Yeah.
Okay, because we from the South, so we mix some stuff though. So that's really cool. That's really cool. So I appreciate your stories about Roland and your stories around chaplain and death notifications, and for you all who are listening, who just really need to seek that support from different areas, whether that's a pastor, law enforcement, chaplain, you're a supporter of other people. You have so many stories of compounded loss. Please don't hesitate to get help, get support from peer supporters, or even from a grief therapist like myself, and from listening to podcasts like this podcast, The Grip Spot. If you were to give and leave people with information, with resources, what would you say outside of grief therapy? What would you say you would leave people with?
As far as
The wisdom. What wisdom would you guide people with when it comes to grief and mental health?
most people know their own bodies and their strengths and their weaknesses, and I would say if they've gone through, because a lot of times it's I'm trying to say the word different events that pile up.
Yeah, cumulative.
Cumulative. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Cumulative. And when you feel you get to a certain point, know that there is help out there. And some things we cannot do on our own.
Yeah.
And sometimes other people, friends, family may not understand that cannot help you either. So sometimes it's good to seek clinical help.
Yeah.
And not be ashamed of it.
Yeah, not be ashamed of it. Would you give that same advice to pastors?
Yes, same
Okay.
advice, because this is one thing that we know to be true. People don't mind saying, I got a dental appointment, I got a doctor's appointment, but they won't say, I got a therapist appointment.
Yeah. So pastors, if you're out there listening to that, we are available to you as well. You are a supporter and you need supported as well. And whatever, it could be grief and it could be mental health challenges. It could be substance use and abuse, because we know that unresolved grief is a huge issue.
That's true.
And grief, and it can come out so many addictions, irritable, and having problems with your personal life and your family relations and all of that, finances, all of that can be affected with grief and loss, and trying to be a supporter to everybody.
That's true. Sometimes you can't buy your way out of this. Some people go in deep in debt, buying, trying to cope, but that don't solve it.
Yeah. You've seen a lot. You have seen a lot.
Yeah.
So let us go through it with you, If we can help you with something, support you with something that you don't have to go through,
That's right.
let us help you with that. You don't have to go through it if you don't have to. Yeah.
You don't have to do it alone.
You don't have to do it alone. That's right. That is so right. You have done that for so many people, so many families.
Yeah. And you think about it with social media, when you look at a lot of stuff people post on Facebook, they crying out, putting business out there.
Yeah.
They need help.
They need help. Yeah. I feel like it's a whole bunch of people on here, so let me just go ahead and air it out.
Yeah.
They are looking for the support. And unfortunately, not everybody on Facebook is going to be your support on social media.
That's
They're
right.
not. They just going to report out, but they ain't going to support.
That's true.
So, yeah. So I appreciate you for always being out there, for keeping yourself healthy.
Thank you.
For the most part,
Thank
keeping
you.
yourself
Thank
viral with all your good hair and stuff. It's, thank you for being there for so many different individuals, thousands and thousands of people, and for being there for yourself and knowing that, you need support
Right.
too.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Come on, Pastor,
That's
Chaplain.
True. That's true.
I know you got amen. I know you got a joke to close us out. What's the joke?
Oh, Lord. You got me on that one.
Because you stay with a joke. I just put you on the spot.
Yeah.
I did.
Can I just say, when a good therapist is needed, call?
Yep.
What's
You
your
can.
name? What's your name?
I'm Crystal.
You all right?
You need a good therapist. You can call Little Sister and your grief therapist. I'm Crystal Pinnock right here in Nashville, Tennessee. And this podcast is sponsored by my company, Tittle Pinnock Grief Counseling and Consulting, LLC, located here in Nashville, Tennessee. Again, if you are in Nashville, you can come see me in person, and I do telehealth as well. You are able to, if you are listening to this podcast, you are able to do a 30-minute free consultation. Usually I do 15 minutes, but you can do 30 free minutes of either a Zoom or a phone call where you can get a consultation, talk about your resources, what you need, if you need to come in and see therapy, what all things that we can talk about in that 30 minutes. Whether you are a pastor, whether you're in law enforcement or individual or family or an organization, you can get that. If you're listening to this podcast, all you got to say is, hey, saw the whole thing on the Grip Spot podcast and I want to get the 30-minute free consultation, let me know over at tpgcc.com. That is tpgcc.com, Tittle Pennant Grief Counseling and Consulting, right here in Nashville, Tennessee. If you're outside of Tennessee, I can do consultations with you as well, and trainings, mental health conferences, those type things, retreats. So be aware that there is support and there's help out there.